My goals for Penguin Racing School was to simply get track time and see how the rules of the race course worked at the beginner level, um, to test myself and my bike to see if either one of us really performed any differently. And I mostly wanted to get tips on setting my bike up and learning how to ride the track and the roads better. What I realized was the track really isn't a lot different than riding the roads. You've got to negotiate them like giving yourself the best views around corners. It's probably even more important on the road because you never do know what's around the next corner. As to where on the track, you know it's safe for the most part. There was a lot of guys crowding each other, even though we were, not really racing. So they would, for me, have a tendency to mess up my line. So throughout the day, I tried to not concentrate on them so much and mostly just stick to the lines that I wanted. It wasn't an easy thing to do, I must admit. A couple times I got a little carried away in trying to keep up and actually get into racing, which isn't really a smart thing to do when you've got a brand new ZX10 out there on the track with a bunch of junk race bikes. That's what the all were. They were all either rentals from Penguin Racing School or they were guys that were there to race that weekend or guys that wanted to race that weekend. They were all set up with low pressure in their tires, and their bikes were definitely scarred up from a fall or two before. And I wasn't expecting that at all. I wanted, people out there just to be relatively mellow and not really get into it too much. But hopefully next session in a month or so will go a little smoother. I don't know if it's going to be a race weekend. If it is, that pretty much will spell it out for me. I didn't have to push my bike at all, which was cool. It just always had plenty of power. I mean, like right now I'm in fourth, and it carried me through the track just fine. Next time I think I am going to maybe try to give myself more time so I can test the bike a little bit more, so I don't have to worry about getting piled up on. There was about 5 accidents. 4 of them were serious. I was talking to another guy there, and he had been put out of commission for 5 months with broken collarbone, ribs, things of that nature. And I definitely don't want any more broken bones. As far as the setup of the bike goes, the instructors were 20 to 40 students, so I thought we were going to get a lot of time one-on-one, and that didn't happen, unfortunately. So I didn't get any good tips on the bike setup. It was left just as the, using it for the road. It still performed flawlessly. I never had any problem with, bounce or anything weird happening on the bike. A couple times going into turn 3, I guess it was, the rear end did slide on me a little bit, but that was due to shitty conditions and cold tires. The risk of riding on the track was, like I was saying, a lot greater than I expected for a simple, what I thought was going to be a track day because of all the other riffraff out there. The dangers of getting hurt versus no pay whatsoever for actually racing for the guys that do race. There was one guy there on a little R3 that had spent like $4,000 in simple suspension mods, so he had almost $10,000 into a bike like that, which I really didn't get. A lot of the guys there, like I said, they had bikes that were definitely used, and I guess they must still go alright, or I don't think they would still be using them. And the track itself was extremely rough for a racetrack. I was pretty shocked. The instructors were saying that K-rails had been dropped. This right here is where I slid the rear tire in that same corner 2 different times, and again I think it was the pavement had like washboards in it coming to that corner, and then the transition onto the motorcycle track from the oval itself was very rough. The fact that it was like that, I was pretty disappointed with. I guess there are some tracks around the country that are somewhat rough, but I think this is probably one of the worst examples of it. As far as running the low tire pressure, I really didn't want to do that because I wanted, to feel what the bike would do on the street. So when I did push it, to whatever limit I wanted to on the track, I would know what it would do on the street for the most part. The pavement conditions weren't any better than they would have been on the street, so I didn't have to worry about that. The tires that I used, the Battle Axe 16s, they seem to hold up very well for being a kind of in between road and track tire. There are some Battle Axe 10s and a lot of other strictly, race tires that I probably would have performed better, but I was really surprised how good these tires did hold up. They got a little bit blistered and stuff relatively quickly, but they didn't seem to deteriorate much after that. And they never, lost traction or got weird on me, so that was a really encouraging sign for the tires. And the fact that I wasn't able to make any changes in the suspension, I think, that says a lot about the bike itself as far as, just holding its composure no matter what I was doing out there. I always felt like I was able to stop when I needed to stop, had guys in front of me crashed or anything like that. I was always ready for that. And that did happen quite a few times, as you'll see, or as you have seen in this video and previous ones. The guys out there really did seem pretty boneheaded, just racing like that for, I'm not sure, like I said, what purpose. It seems like they could have given themselves like 10% leeway, from that ragged edge before they crashed. But it was balls out for a good many of them, which is a easy thing to do if you're not trying to hold yourself in check at all. So it got me a couple times, and that was never my intention. The track itself, I don't know if it's because so much of the racers were there and it was a busy week or whatever it was, but it did seem very unorganized. There were 3 different groups of us, like intermediate, and then the guys that were going to try to race, and then the guys that already did race. And it was pretty tough as far as like not just one group went out of time. There was mixed groups, and I never knew where the hell, or who the hell I was racing with, because there was all of us out there. And I would have liked to seen that change, so it would have been a lot less hectic. As far as the instructors go, they didn't really give me a lot of new information. If you read your magazines and watch all the basic videos and, the science of riding your motorcycle, you're pretty much going to have the gist of what the instructors tell you. A lot of it was track rules because I was in that, race course thing. And I did learn a lot there as far as what the flags meant and all that sort of stuff. Uh, but that wasn't so much of what I wanted to get out of the school. So next time I go back, I'm going to be a lot more aware of what they offer and hopefully get myself into a better setup so I can just go out and ride the track the way I want and not have to worry so much about getting crashed or anything like that. It was super fun. I definitely saw a difference in the way the tires were worn compared to riding on the street. I always thought I rode fairly hard on the street and my tires never got touched, and riding about the same pace as I do on the road on the track made a big difference, and that was kind of neat. The most part, I definitely am looking forward to going back. It was relatively tiring, just having to be there the day prior and uh, not getting the best kind of rest I would have liked to. I actually let this ambulance go and that other rider. That's what I mean. They just weren't really paying too much attention to anything. Um, you would have thought an ambulance trying to pull out, you would have stopped, and that's actually one of the instructors.